Okay, hold up. I'm not sure if you can handle the fire matchups that are happening this weekend. And I'm not talking about the Chicago Fire because they are terrible this season. I'm talking about the heat that we're going to be discussing on previews and predictions with my top 5 matchups and some other big ones to watch. So I guess this is the part where I say viewer discretion is advised. And starting at number 5, it's Crystal Palace versus Arsenal because it's time to take a moment to shower the Gunners with some love because they have won 7 straight league games and are doing it with some real style. Plus, it feels like they're starting to establish that they have some real depth now too, which gives the manager Unai Emery legitimate options to work with, especially as they look to contend in multiple competitions. However, to tap the brakes and keep things in perspective before we just hand them the league trophy, they didn't play any of the big 4 or 5 clubs in the league during this 7-game run, and they're still definitely not as strong as they could be defensively, and they still got Granit Xhaka on their team. So that will have to be addressed in the January transfer window if they truly want to make a run at it, not just pretend to make a run at it. But there is something to be said for them winning the games that they should win, something that the Arsene Wenger managed sides of the past struggled with in recent seasons. So this has to be a welcome change to Arsenal supporters, as in they don't have anything to bitch about for once. So my prediction, Crystal Palace is the opposite of hot with their 3 straight losses and a draw to Newcastle no less in their last 4 in the league, scoring a whopping 1 goal over those 4 games as well. So I like Arsenal to keep their run going with a 2-0 win. And up next at number 4, it's 4 key matchups in MLS on the last day of the season called Decision Day, when all of the teams in the league play at the same time, and it's going to determine who makes the playoffs, who doesn't, playoff seeding because the top 2 teams in each conference get a first-round bye, and then who wins the Supporter Shield as the best team in the league after the 34 regular season games, which is what other leagues around the world call the league trophy. So it's a big deal. And the first one for you to know about or care about or watch is the LA Galaxy versus the Houston Dynamo, because if the very bang average Galaxy before Zlatan showed up can win this last game at home over the Dynamo, they will leapfrog over Real Salt Lake and make the playoffs. And given their current form and the magic of Zlatan, they are not a team I would want to face in the postseason. Also, I 100% think they're going to win this one, but it's going to be tight. So let's say 1-0. And then in the Eastern Conference, it's the Columbus Crew versus Minnesota United. Now, the once heralded Crew, who are managed by Greg Berhalter, who is predicted by many, including myself, to be the frontrunner for the U.S. men's national team job, well, they've only won 2 out of their last 8 games and are barely holding on to that last playoff spot. They currently sit on 48 points, while the Montreal Impact have 46. So a draw against one of the worst teams in the league should be enough in this one because of goal differential, but I've seen crazier things happen. Though wouldn't it be crazy if we hired Berhalter as our national team manager and he couldn't even get his MLS club to finish as one of the top 16 teams in the league to get into the playoffs? That would be insane. But I don't think that's going to happen as the Crew win this 3-1. And then finally, the last 2 games revolve around Atlanta United, who sit on 69 points as the top team in the league, and the New York Red Bulls, who sit on 68 as they vie for the coveted Supporter Shield trophy. Now, Atlanta head up to Toronto FC to take on the defending champions, who didn't even make the playoffs. What's going on, Toronto? So they're going to want to end the season on a high note, of course, while the Red Bulls host Orlando City, who might be the biggest train wreck of a team in MLS this season. So I actually think that the Red Bulls are going to win the Supporter Shield because I think Toronto has more pride than Orlando and will actually turn up. Also, just so you know, I'm going to be doing all of the pregame and postgame stuff on MLS's channels this Sunday starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Decision Day for AT&T. So you need to come join us live and give me a hard time. I'd love to see you in the chat. And coming in at number 3, it's Napoli versus Roma, because Roma is, well, I don't really know how to define them. They don't suck like Newcastle sucks, because no one sucks like Newcastle sucks right now, but they're not playing to their potential either. And despite beating Lazio a few weeks ago, which was a big win, they haven't really beaten anyone of consequence this season, so this is the game for them to turn things around, especially against a top opponent away from home, which could help them regain that belief that they had last season when they proved they could play against anyone. However, the problem for them is Napoli is pretty f***ing good, and they seem to be settling into new manager Carlo Ancelotti's system quite well, and since this game is at home for them, a place where they beat and shut out the mighty Liverpool 1-0 in the Champions League not too long ago, I don't think Roma has much of a chance, even if Dzeko somehow finds his scoring boots again and finds the back of the net. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Napoli. And next up at number 2, it's Marseille versus PSG, also known as Le Clasique, which is considered the biggest rivalry in France. However, Marseille have not beaten PSG in this matchup since 2011, so I'm not sure how much of a true derby this really is, since it's been so one-sided for so many years. But Marseille do have the talent to compete. We know it, we can see it, and a manager in Rudy Garcia that knows how to win these types of games. They just haven't. in a very long time. And if we take into account how well PSG have been playing this season, where they've already amassed a plus 31 goal differential after winning all 10 of their league games, it looks like this derby will continue its trend of being all PSG. So I'll say 3-2 with Mbappe, Neymar, and Cavani all getting one. And then at number 1, it's one of the biggest derbies in the world, if not the biggest, El Clasico, Barcelona versus Real Madrid, except this time around, it's missing its two biggest stars of recent years, as Cristiano Ronaldo bolted from Madrid at what looks like just the right time, since Los Blancos are really struggling this season, while Leo Messi is out due to his broken arm, which means we're being forced to talk about the others that are going to be playing this game for once, and actually, I'm quite happy about it. It's refreshing. So for me, let's take a look at a few key matchups, like Gerard Piqu versus Sergio Ramos, the two veteran center backs who have been vital pieces of their respective club's success for many years, because they both need to be A+ as leaders in this game, and as organizers in the back, putting people in good spots and communicating and all that good stuff, and as defenders, of course, which is their main job, doing their 1v1 duties, and by chipping in on set pieces where they're probably going to be marking each other, so that'll be a great matchup, and by keeping their emotions in check, which always seems to be harder for Sergio Ramos and Piqu, but regardless, they're both going to be highly influential, either positively or negatively, on the final result. As will Sergio Busquets versus Luka Modric, who are two of the best midfielders in the game for many reasons, but for this game in particular, it's going to be about dictating the rhythm for the respective clubs while also trying to disrupt their opponents. Now, without Messi, a lot of the responsibility will fall on Busquets' shoulders for establishing the tiki-taka that Barcelona is known for, while Modric will be busy trying to make sure the guys in front of him are getting the ball in good spots, and then, of course, playing with confidence, since these attacking players, well, they haven't scored in a while. And yes, I could also highlight the importance of Bale and Suarez and Benzema and Coutinho, but instead, I want to focus on the goalkeepers Marc Ter Stegen versus Thibaut Courtois, though it should be Keylor Navas, because Ter Stegen has to be one of the most underrated goalkeepers in the world, since his form over the last 2 seasons has been nothing short of incredible, while Courtois, for me, well, he hasn't really been playing at his peak since joining Madrid, and that's probably because he knows deep down that he's stealing the job from Navas, who's doing great without Courtois there. Anyway, to win big games, as you know, you need some hot goal scorers and a hot goalkeeper, and frankly, Barcelona has both of those at the moment, and Madrid does not, which is why I think Barcelona wins this 2-1, which will send Madrid even further down the table and make the calls for them to buy Neymar or Eden Hazard in January even louder. And here's some other games I'll be keeping my eyes on this weekend. Yeah, with my pig nose and my eyes, and yeah. Like second place Flamengo versus first place Palmeiras, because with only 8 games left to go in the Brazilian league and 4 points separating these two clubs at the top, this game could determine who wins the league, because if Palmeiras wins, they'll have a 7-point lead with 7 games to go, and I don't see them losing that big of a gap over those 7 games. But if Flamengo win, it'll be a 1-point lead for Palmeiras with 7 games to go, so it'll be wide open at that point. However, given that the last time these two played against each other a few months ago, it ended 1-1 with 3 red cards given to each team, who knows what's really going to happen, but it should be very entertaining to watch. And then I'll be spying Borussia Dortmund versus Hertha Berlin, because I want to see if the black and yellow can score 4 goals in a league game for the 5th consecutive time, as they look to continue to flex on everyone else in the Bundesliga, though Hertha, who beat Bayern Munich less than a month ago, won't be an easy opponent to pull that off against. And then I'll be taking a moment to watch Die Klassiker, Ajax versus Feyenoord, because I want to see if Feyenoord can actually beat Ajax in the biggest derby in all of Holland for the first time in the league since January of 2012, so they can get this back to being a proper rivalry again. Come on, fellas. So come on, fellas. Have some respect for yourselves. Get a result. And then I'll be enjoying the Sydney derby between Sydney FC versus the Western Sydney Wanderers, because 1, it's the biggest derby in Australia, mate. 2, this match produces the best atmosphere of any played throughout the season, according to many players, including Alessandro Del Piero. And 3, the Wanderers have won only once since 2014, which is a run of 14 games, so I think they're due to get a win in this one. And then I have to make some time for second place Cruz Azul versus first place Club America, because it's a battle between the 2 top teams in Liga MX for this Apertura season, after America finally caught and passed Cruz Azul, who had been on top of the league every single week since the beginning, until this past weekend, of course. So this is going to be a great game, and not only because this result could determine who gets the incredibly valuable top seed in the playoffs, and there are only 4 games before those start, it's also because Cruz Azul have won every game at home this season, while America are the second best team away from home in all of Mexico, so it's going to be an immovable object taking on an unstoppable force, and I love when that happens. And finally, I've been saving this one for last, because it's actually happening happening on Monday, but I knew I'd be flying home from New York City when it was on, so I wanted to talk about it now. And that is Spurs versus Manchester City. Because I want to see if this Spurs team is really for real this season, and the only way that I think we can properly judge that is by how they've done against the biggest of clubs, which they started off doing very well this season in this department by beating Manchester United 3-0 at Old Trafford, but since then, they lost to Liverpool, Inter Milan, and then looked like schoolboys for a good portion of their 4-2 loss to Barcelona. So this will be a great test against the defending champions who have only given up 3 goals in 9 league games this season and already have a plus 23 goal differential in 9 games. That is dumb and not fair because it's so good. And all right, that is it. I am finally done talking. So thank you for watching as always. Please hit that like and subscribe button to show your appreciation for these videos. And if you want to win some Warm Ballers gear, predict the right score for El Clasico, and you'll be entered to win. Also, come to my pickup game in New York City, please. It'd be awesome to see you in person. All right, I'm done. Later.